Am I the a-hole for not wanting to name my child after my late husband? Plus updates. Original post. Me 31 and my current husband 35 recently found out that we were expecting twin boys. And my first husband's mother is livid that we aren't naming one of them after her son. A little background. My first husband Michael and I were college sweethearts. We got married not long after graduation, and I thought I would be with him for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, we were only married for a couple of months before Michael passed away suddenly. It was one of the worst times in my life, and I never thought that I would ever fall in love again, much less get married again or have a family. I remained very close with Michael's mom, my mother-in-law, and she was very supportive when I eventually started dating again. Not long after I met my current husband John, I took him to her house so that they could meet. She was so excited to meet him, and I remember going to the bathroom and crying tears of relief that she wasn't angry at me for moving on. When John and I got married, she was so happy for me, and on my wedding day, she took me aside and told me that she knew Michael was happy for me too. It meant so much to me to hear her say that. Earlier this year, John and I found out that we were pregnant. At first, mother-in-law was ecstatic, making jokes about being a bonus grandma and asking to help plan the gender reveal party and baby shower. But then when the subject of names came up, she was shocked that we weren't planning to name the baby after Michael. I explained to her that if it was a boy, we were going to name him after John's father. I could tell she wasn't happy, but she seemed to accept it. Things took a turn for the worst after my 20-week ultrasound when we found out that I was carrying twin boys. When I told her the news, she flat out told me that I had to name one of the babies after Michael, or she would never forgive me. When I told her that we weren't going to do that, she absolutely flipped, saying that I was betraying the memory of her son. I tried to make her understand that as much as I love and miss Michael, that chapter of my life is over. And I feel like it's disrespectful to John to insist on naming one of his children after another man. At first, John said that he would be fine with it if it was what I wanted, but eventually he admitted that the idea made him uncomfortable. I never want to make my mother-in-law think that I've forgotten Michael, or that he wasn't important to me. But I don't want to name one of my children after him either. And honestly, I don't think he would have wanted me to. There are better ways of remembering him than giving his name to a child that will never have any real connection to him. I tried explaining this to mother-in-law, but she just wouldn't hear it. She told me that she would never speak to me again if I didn't name one of the babies after her son. She's been a really important part of my life, and I don't want to lose her. But at the same time, I feel like she's giving me an unfair ultimatum. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. We all grieve differently. It's your child to name. And if you don't want to name them something, don't. Name your child what you and your current significant other think is right. Your mother-in-law's an a-hole for putting this ultimatum on you. She's hurting bad though. Burying your child is one of, if not the worst things in this world. Up to you if you want to give her a pass on being an a-hole about this, versus just cutting off the connection yourself. Not an easy choice. Congrats on the new babies though, and good luck in life. It's been about a decade though since Michael died, and if not mother-in-law is reacting like this now, those two boys will most likely be treated like crap by her. Or she'll designate one of them her Michael. It'll lead to a lot of preferential treatment of that twin over the other. Sounds like not mother-in-law needs some serious therapy. And personally, I'd make her getting grief therapy an ultimatum for any chance of her interacting with those boys. If not, it's a crap show waiting to happen. Not today, home. It's great that you have maintained great relationship with your late husband's mother. That doesn't change the fact that your kids have no connection to Michael. It would be unfair to your husband and to the kid. Does your name have a story? Oh yeah, I was named after my mom's first husband. The names should be important to both of you or at least have some logical meanings. It's not like you were in a poly relationship and one partner died. Also, where I live, it is said that it's bad luck to name a child specifically after someone dead. Not today, home. I think it's time to break ties with her. Your husband must be a really patient man. He's the most patient, kind, and compassionate man I've ever met. And I tell him so every day. Now for the first update. Wow. Blown away by all the feedback and support. We are hosting in-laws, John's parents, so I can only add a short update for now. But I promise to leave a longer one when they go home in a couple of days. For now, I just want to address a few things I saw in the comments. A lot of you wanted clarification as to how long Michael has been gone. It will be 10 years this October. And no, Michael's not his real name. Any names that I've included in the post have been changed to protect anonymity. A lot of you also wondered why I am still close with his mother after so long. I probably should have included this in the original post for context, but there are a couple of reasons for this. Michael was an only child and his father was never in the picture, and she has virtually no other family left besides a handful of cousins who live across the country. Over the years, she's been my steadfast supporter, always the first to encourage me to live my life and be happy. Funnily enough, I might not have met John if it wasn't for her. A friend of mine had set me up with him on a blind date and I almost backed out. The only reason I didn't was because my ex-mother-in-law convinced me to go. Honestly, she is the last person I ever would have expected this from, which is why I've found it so hard to deal with. A lot of you have said this is probably her being forced to finally deal with a lot of unprocessed grief, and I think that's probably true. I think at some point I stopped thinking of her as my mother-in-law and started thinking of her as a friend. I thought that she'd come to think of me the same way, but now I'm realizing that at least a part of her still sees me as Michael's wife. I'm hopeful that we will find a way to work it out, but I am prepared to let her go if it comes to that, even though it would make me terribly sad. To those of you who said I should start putting up some boundaries with her, you're probably right. I honestly thought all of the bonus grandma jokes were harmless at first, but now I have started to think otherwise. I don't want to make any rash decisions yet until we've both had a chance to calm down. But as things stand now, she has a lot of work to do in a way for regaining my trust. As to where I stand on the name issue, I am not going to name either of my children after Michael. For those of you who were worried I might cave on the issue, don't be. It was never an option. I briefly considered doing something with a middle name, but ultimately decided against it. I don't want to burden either of my children by naming them after a man they will never have any connection to. As to how we honor Michael's memory, every year John and I go visit his grave on his birthday. It was actually John who started the tradition. The year we got engaged, and we haven't missed a year since. Maybe someday when they're old enough, we'll take the boys. I don't know how exactly, but I'm sure I'll find a way to explain to them who Michael was and what he meant to me. For those of you who ask if this was having a negative impact on my marriage, the answer is no. John has been my rock through the entire pregnancy, and his only concern during this ordeal has been my emotional well-being. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if I wanted to name one of these babies after Michael, that he would let me and never say a word about it, no matter how much it hurt him. Which makes me even more determined not to cave on the issue, because I refuse to repay his selflessness with selfishness. As to where things stand with ex-mother-in-law and I, my sister-in-law, brother's wife, is good friends with her. They teach together at the same school. So right now, she's acting as a sort of go-between. She says that she thinks ex-mother-in-law is having a long overdue emotional breakdown. We both agree that she has avoided fully processing her grief, and now it's all coming to a boiling point. She's pushing hard to get her to see a therapist, and I'm hopeful that we can salvage at least some of our relationship. But if not, I'll find a way to live with it. And finally, to the handful of commenters who insinuated that I am still in love with Michael, and that I'm not being fair to John, let me just say that until you've been in my shoes, you won't understand. Michael and I were very young when we got married. I loved him very much, and he will always have a place in my heart. But John is absolutely the love of my life. It took me years of therapy, but I don't feel guilty about it anymore. Thank you all so much for commenting and leaving your thoughts. It's helped me so much to process things and sort out my emotions. Planning to see my ex-mother-in-law later this week after current in-laws leave, and I will be back with an update as soon as possible. Now for the second update 7 weeks later. I meant to do this sooner, but it has been a wild month. As it turns out, carrying two human beings inside of you takes a bit of a toll, and lately I've been feeling it. As of yesterday, I'm at 32 weeks, which means we're officially out of the danger zone if the boys decide to come early, but hopefully they'll stay where they are for a little while longer. John and I were advised by a friend that we should give them names that mean something to us as a couple. So we decided to name them for our favorite Tom Hanks characters, as it was our mutual love for the actor that we first bonded over. Hint, neither of them will be named Forrest. One of them will be named after a character starred alongside Meg Ryan. Since I made this post, it has come to light that ex-mother-in-law has a serious problem with alcohol. I never realized this before, because apparently she was very good at hiding it. Also, I've been told that while she has been nothing but supportive and kind to my face, she has made some very unkind comments about me and John behind our backs. She's even told some people that I cheated on Michael, her son, with John, even though I didn't even meet him until several years after Michael died. We went no contact 2 weeks ago, and it makes me very sad, because Michael adored his mother, and it would break his heart to see her like this. Because as awful as she's been to me lately, I know it's just because she's in pain. Still, I know he would understand why I've decided to cut her out of my life. I truly hope that one day she'll heal and we can find a way to be friends again. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé he doesn't get to name both of our babies? I'm pregnant with twins and my fiancé and I just found out we're having a boy and a girl. We started talking about names the other day. He told me that he really wanted to name the baby boy after himself, first and middle. I wasn't on board at first, but after thinking about it, I agreed. I told him that for the baby girl, I wanted her first name to be my sister's since we're very close, and the middle to be my dad's since he passed when I was young. My dad's name isn't really unisex, but is becoming a common girl's name. My fiancé got visibly sad and told me he wanted to name the baby girl after his mom and have the middle name be his dad's name. His dad's name is a unisex name. I told him that I didn't really think it was fair that he got to name the first baby what he wanted, and now wants to name the second baby also what he wants. I also said it wasn't fair that my family gets excluded. He said he really wanted to incorporate at least his mom's name. I told him that the baby girl's middle name can be his mom's, but then the boy's middle name is going to be my dad's. He said he wanted the baby boy named completely after him though, so the baby is a junior. I told him he doesn't get to name both of the babies what he wants. He got upset about this comment and has been standoffish toward me. I don't think that was so awful of me to say, but now I'm second-guessing my comment and wondering if I'm an a-hole for it. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Also, it is a nightmare paper-wise when a kid has the exact same name as their father. My family did this with my brother, and it causes so many problems. I highly don't recommend that you do that. Also, my brother started to resent his name due to him wanting to be his own unique person and not a copy of Dad. I highly recommend not going the junior route. Strong support for your comment about your brother being named after his father. Let kids be their unique selves. My husband is a junior, and his father's financial information shows up on his credit report from time to time. Things like having a Sears credit card before he was actually born. You'd think different birthdays and social security numbers would prevent it, but no. Not a-hole. He's being selfish. Both child names should require 2 yes votes. Exactly. 2 yeses and 1 no is what it takes to name babies. Not a-hole. I presume he thinks they are both getting his last name too? Why shouldn't get one your last name? And he got visibly sad when he didn't get his way. It's time for you to start getting visibly sad that he can't respect your feelings. Here's a fair solution. You each choose 2 names. First name choice for one gender results and middle choice for the other. He picks Anne and Brad. You pick Claire and David. You end up with Anne Claire and David Brad. Or you end up with Claire Anne and Brad David. Edit. I feel I need to clear something up that I'm seeing a lot. Quite a lot of people keep telling me to give the kids original names and not name them after someone else. In my family, it's very normal to recycle names and name new babies after family members. It's actually considered abnormal if you give your baby an original name. I know this isn't the norm and it's weird for others, but like I said, it's normal for us and our family actually loves having recycled names. A few of us love that we have the same names. We don't find it weird and we enjoy it. Every family is different and our families enjoy sharing names. It's fine if you don't agree, but that's just how our family is. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for demanding that my mother display photos of my wife in her house? I got married 2 years ago to the love of my life. I feel like my mom doesn't really like her, but the relationship is mostly okay. Honestly, I have a feeling that since I got married, I've been left out of a lot of stuff. But the only one I can prove is my mom's birthday trip. To be clear, no one is straight up rude, but it is clear my mom and wife don't vibe, and the rest of my family seems meh about her, which does make me sad. My mom has a wall with a lot of pictures on it. There are plenty of pictures of my sister's partner and there are pictures of extended family, but not a single one of my wife. My mom has pictures of her, because some of these were taken at events we were at, but she just chooses the ones without my wife. Honestly, this is not something I would have picked up on, but my wife did, and it bothered her. My wife's family is huge on family, and while I don't think my mother-in-law loves me, she definitely includes me in everything. I brought it up to my mom, and she said she hadn't noticed. I said I didn't really believe her, and she shrugged and said my wife isn't her daughter. I pointed out that my sister's partner isn't her son, or my aunt's husband isn't her brother, but she has pictures of them. My mom said it was her house, and the whole conversation's dumb. I said she can't exclude the love of my life, And my mom said this is a really pathetic thing to care about and we are being weird. My wife was upset and feels like it was a clear statement. So I told my mom she could either put up some pictures of my wife or we wouldn't be coming over. My mom said, okay, don't come over. That was probably 4 to 5 months ago. I checked up about Christmas and asked if she had put up even one picture. My mom said no, she wasn't going to, we can't make her, and just don't come to Christmas and see if she cares. Well, we won't be going to Christmas, but my sister is super pissed at me and thinks I'm an entitled a-hole. And I heard my stepdad was making fun of us. I don't feel too bad because everything I've read online talks about you have to be a united front. Not an a-hole. You are doing everything right. Time to show them how much better your life is without them. I know with current events travel can be tricky, but you should try to do something special for Christmas and take lots of photos. Also, never take or post another photo of yourself without your wife ever again. If you really want to get petty, if you know there's something your mom wants, but your stepdad hasn't delivered, for example, a piece of jewelry she wants, buy one for your wife and make sure your mom finds out indirectly, and take/post photos. Edit, for those having a problem with my petty suggestion. The part about other significants being included and not Opie's wife really pissed me off. If all significants were left out, I just say let it go. But if Opie's wife is going to be singled out, I say unleash the petty kraken and give it a camera. Lol, I love that. But unfortunately my mom gets whatever she wants the moment she pouts. Not an a-hole. Your mom doesn't like your wife, unfortunately. However, your mother does have a point. You can't make her put up any photos. Maybe go low/no contact with your mom. Talk it over with your wife and see how she feels. It's nice to see a husband with a backbone on the site. Also, you might need to look into r/just no mother-in-law. Am I the a-hole for kicking my girlfriend out and potentially making her homeless after she came out to me? So I, male 25, have been dating this girl, female 23, for a year and a half. She lost her job due to COVID and didn't have any other place to go, so I asked her to move in with me even though my place is quite small. We've been growing a bit distant during the pandemic because I work long hours as the sole earner and she doesn't get to spend time with me. But my girlfriend has been spending this time with one of her friends, female 26, who happens to be bi. One day I was working an overnight shift and came back to my girlfriend waiting for me looking as if she'd been crying. I asked her what happened, and she told me that she slept with her friend last night while I was at work after having a few too many glasses of wine. She then told me that she's had feelings for girls since high school, but had always repressed them considering them to be abnormal. She then proceeded to tell me that she was now ready to come out of the closet. I had been listening patiently while she finished, despite being freaking furious on the inside. I told her that her coming out was great for her and I wished nothing but the best for her in the future, but she had to get out within the week. She then broke down crying again, saying that she didn't have any place to go and no money to pay rent. So I told her that wasn't my problem, and she needed to start looking. She cried, saying she thought I was her friend. Now I got mad and told her, no, I was your boyfriend before you cheated on me. Now get the hell out and go stay with the friend she cheated on me with. She broke down again and went to the bathroom. I'll be removing her stuff after a week if she isn't out. I can do that. She's not a tenant. Not in the US. Spare me the lawsuit comments. Edit. She called me a bigot from the bathroom, which is why I made this post. And reading the comments made me realize how mad I really am. So she's gonna be out today. Now for the top comments. She cheated and somehow doesn't seem to recognize what that means for you. Because for her, it's so overshadowed by her realizing her own identity. No, you don't have to continue giving her a place to live. She should apologize for cheating too. Not a hole. She did apologize for cheating while coming out, but that means jack to me. I don't understand how people come out or want to transition, and their partner knows out because they didn't sign up for that, and then the person gets angry and mad at them for noping and says all kinds of nasty stuff about them or calling them names. No one has to do that if the relationship is no longer what either one wants or is comfortable with. Not a hole. I never understand why people expect sympathy for coming out after they cheat on their partner. Should have figured those feelings out before she wasted your time. Such a horrible thing to do to anyone. But even crappier considering you've fed and sheltered her in her time of need. You're better than me because I would have kicked her out as soon as she confessed. I may not be that much better. I'm seriously considering it. You told her to go to her friend's place. Why isn't she packing up and doing that? Her friend doesn't have a place to share. She lives in a youth hostel. Not a-hole. She cheated on you. Period. You don't get to pass on cheating just because you're coming out. That doesn't make the partner feel any better or make it okay. She's a cheater, and you were being more than considerate giving her a week despite her leading you on, lying to you, throughout your relationship and cheating on you. I'm thinking of making that tonight after she called me a bigot from the bathroom. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling the truth and exposing a web of lies my wife spun? My wife has been lying a lot lately. She is overly conscious of people's feelings, and she uses white lies to shift the blame onto others to lessen the blow of a situation, always to her benefit. She will find herself in situations where she wants to back out of weekend plans with her friends, or explain why she did something seemingly rude, etc. But she always blames me. My husband doesn't want me to leave this weekend, sorry, such an A. Or, I only screenshotted this conversation we had because my husband told me he wanted to see it. Sure, I can handle someone confronting me about that stuff far better than she can, as she has high anxiety when it comes to confrontation. But I'm really sick of being her scapegoat and letting people think I'm a selfish jerk. I was watching our kids this weekend while my wife hosted a bachelorette trip for her friend at my wife's aunt's lake house. Then last night, my wife calls me and says I can come over with the kids, rather than wait till early this morning like planned. I get to the lake house, and the girls are all still out at a bar somewhere. So let myself in and put the kids to bed. Then my wife's aunt texts her after seeing me on her security camera and tells me she is upset that I was there. That's weird to me because she and I get along very well, and I'm even renting a house from her. She has really high anxiety, but she manages it well most of the time. She then texts me this morning and begins berating me about how I had no right to invite myself over, and that I'm a bad father. Naturally, I was shocked and asked her what she meant. Turns out, my wife texted her saying she didn't know I was coming, and that I'm an incompetent father, and she had to help me because I didn't know how to watch my own kids. I told her that that was not true, and that my wife invited me to come because she knew it was closer to my work, and I could sleep in rather than get up early to bring the kids. I, of course, confronted my wife about why she would lie about me and say things like that about me. She then gets mad and says she was doing damage control on the situation, and that it's far better if her aunt is mad at me than her. So now we're fighting because I, of course, don't appreciate being put in that situation, but my wife thinks it was a necessary sacrifice to keep her aunt happy with her. Not today, Hall. Hold up. You need a big wake-up call. Those are not white lies. This is not a small issue to be mulling over in AITA to blow off steam before returning to the status quo in your real life. Your wife badmouths and undermines you to seemingly everyone who matters in her life, to the point where they think you are a terrible father and husband. This is nefarious, dangerous, and outright inexcusable. It has already gotten to the point where she is way past believing her own lies, and the foundation is set where everyone in your mutual support network is against you. But how can you blame her family for being so ferociously against you, when it has been established that you are consistently behaving like a monster for months now? You could literally be one bad panic lie away from losing your kids or getting arrested for abuse. Look out for yourself. Think of your kids. Even for her to stop this now is not enough. This web of venomous lies needs to be reversed and burned to the root. Yes, that is a huge lie, not a white lie. She completely lied to everyone to get you in trouble. That is awful. She set you up for some reason. I think she's trying to find a way out of the relationship. She uses white lies to shift the blame onto others. That's not a white lie. That's just a lie. Not today, Hall. What are you doing in this relationship? It just started recently. At least I think it did. I've only just started to catch her doing it. Plus we have kids, so leaving is much harder. But I love her, of course. Not today, Hall. If this just started recently, you should be concerned that she is making an exit plan. Painting you as controlling and incompetent with your children may cost you custody and even significant visitation. Holy crap. I'm not sure therapy would even help, to be honest. She just sounds like an overall crappy, toxic person, and you need to get yourself, and your poor kids, away from her. I mean, damn, that's just messed up. Not today, Hall, but your wife sure is. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend I can't afford to feed his kids right now? I really need the unbiased opinion of internet strangers and accept any adult judgment. For context, my boyfriend 36 male and my son and I 36 female live together, and for the moment, I'm the main breadwinner. Boyfriend pays his portion of the rent and then I pay for everything else. Food, utilities, my portion of the rent, fuel, basically everything else. And I have to budget like crazy to cover everything. I don't have a great salary, but better than his. He's working and bettering his situation, and I support us with an open heart. No resentment and no expectations on repayment. He has 2 kids from a previous relationship that visit us semi-regularly when he's off work. So on to the issue. Last week, he kind of sprung it on me that his kids were coming to stay the night. I asked him nicely to let me know a bit sooner next time so that I could work my money situation. I reworked some things to feed all of us, and everything is good. I made a load of pancakes. Then yesterday, he tells me they are coming again. I think that his ex is asking. And I ask if it's after I get paid. He says no, it's not. So I say as gently as I can that it's the end of the month, and I can't really afford 2 extra mouths right now, and I'm having to borrow to make ends meet for the week as it is. He blows up. Says he doesn't see his kids, and it's not my responsibility and he'll sell his car for money if he has to. I love him and I love his kids, but the reality of the situation is that I can literally not feed them too right now. I know it's just 2 kids and a few extra meals, but it's the reality of our situation, and one of the kids is a preteen that eats more than I do some days, and that's okay. Please bear in mind that boyfriend has no money at all for extra anything. Am I the a-hole for saying I'm not able to accommodate his kids right now? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You can't spend money you don't have. Pretty much sums up how I feel about it. There are no bad feelings towards anyone here. Just facts. I can see why he'd feel angry and frustrated. Just not angry and frustrated at you. This whole situation sucks. Nobody should be in this financial position. But it sounds to me like you're doing your best to help out when you can. I hope he realizes this once he's not feeling quite so immediately frustrated and disappointed. Not the a-hole. Quick question. If he acknowledges that they're not your responsibility, exactly why is he mad? It just seems like he and the children's mother want a bum off of you, / dump their kids in your lap whenever they want with no lip from you. That's not the kid's fault, but it's not your problem either. Worry about you and your baby. Budget for you and your baby. He's a grown man. What exactly does he budget for? You should seriously rethink whether or not you want the rest of your life to look like this. I don't think your boyfriend actually wants things to change. He seems just fine springing stuff on you, like you don't have enough to deal with by yourself. By the way, does he ever help you with your kid, or is he just piling things onto you with no help whatsoever, even when he doesn't have his kids? Pretty much everything is just up to me to figure out. He would be willing to help me with my kid, but my kid is mine and his dad's responsibility and I don't ask unless I have no other options. He has just finished his studies and is job hunting for the new field at the moment. He used to pay child support before he got the crappy job he has now. His car is also not working, so I take him to work and stuff. Why are you supporting him more than he's supporting you? He is dragging you down, and it sounds like he's making your life miserable. Can you get a new apartment without him? Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for giving my wife tough love about her weight gain? My wife has gained 100 pounds since we met. At the beginning of our relationship, we bonded over fitness, went to the gym together several times a week, and she was in great shape. She's 5'3" and went from 115 pounds to 215 plus. Most of her weight gain happening in the last 2 years since her father and sister both passed away, and she has been dealing with her grief and depression from that. I understand what she's been going through, but the toll it's taking on her is hard to watch. Her weight gain reached a breaking point for me a few months ago, and I just couldn't bite my tongue anymore. It was like the elephant in the room topic that we never talked about before, even though it was obvious she's been gaining weight. But I finally had to say something. It's much more than just about her appearance, but her health. We used to work out together, go hiking, swimming, etc., and no longer do any of that. So it's affecting our marriage in more ways than one. When I brought it up, I said I was concerned for her and felt I needed to say something. She broke down crying, saying she hasn't felt or looked like herself in years, and blamed it mainly on her grief from her dad and sister passing away. I told her I understand that, but she needs to prioritize both her physical and mental health and learn a better way to cope. She agreed to start grief counseling to start working through all this and hopefully turn her health around. I felt like we had a good conversation and it seemed like we were on the same page. But days later, she had vented to either her mom or best friend about what we talked about, and she approached me about it again and said after talking about it with them, she realizes how unfair and harsh I was being and that she feels disrespected. I don't think I was being harsh at all, but approached her with love and support. I know weight is a sensitive issue, but how long was I supposed to ignore it for? It's been 4 days and she hasn't spoken to me since then because she said I need to apologize, but I don't think I need to. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. Her weight gain reached a breaking point? Her intense grief and depression didn't concern you, but you reached a breaking point over her weight gain. How long were you supposed to ignore it? Forever, because you should have been more concerned about her depression, not her weight. Edit. Other reasons came to light through this. Your wife had a baby 6 months ago and is struggling with PPD on top of her other grief and depression about her family. You are home barely 5 days a week, and those are overnights, meaning your wife has the sole responsibility for your baby who since is 6 months old, most likely up a couple times a night. So your maybe 3 hours of active time being home, your wife must probably choose between a laundry list of things to do while she has you home, such as getting some sleep, spending time as a family, taking some time for her, and the like. You again said your breaking point was a couple months ago, so when she was, 4 months postpartum? Her weight should literally be so far off your mind right now it should be in outer space. OP, you should probably edit your post to add in all of the information about your wife without the vague, she's drastically gained weight. She went through 2 major traumas and a pregnancy, and now only has her husband home 3 hours a day, but somehow still has time to work out several times a week. Yes, you are doing it for the good of your family, but that takes nothing away from the fact that she's parenting alone, while dealing with a severe grief, stress, and depression. And in all of that, you broached the subject by talking about her weight? You may not mean to be an a-hole. You might be a genuinely concerned husband who just don't understand, but my God, you're the a-hole. Not to mention that for the last year and a half, there had been a global pandemic. I can't begin to imagine the many added layers of stress the isolation and lack of normal support network not available during this time must have added to coping with her grief, pregnancy, and birth of her first child. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Edited to add that Opie didn't bother to mention she's also postpartum with a 6-month-old baby and is only home 3 hours a day. Your wife has suffered 2 huge losses, is obviously grieving and suffering depression, and thusly you think reducing her self-esteem is a great idea. You may want to seriously ask yourself whether you're doing anything verbally or emotionally to contribute to her depression and binging. Overeating can be an emotional reaction for many who turn to food to fulfill something that is missing or to cope with harsh criticism. You seem to think grief has a time limit as well. You claim to care about her health and mental status, but you've clearly caused her pain. You're more concerned with being right than her obvious distress. You went into the conversation not referencing concern for her depression or grief, but her weight. Sounds like you wouldn't care about either if she pursued grief counseling should she still weigh 115 pounds. It took 2 years to care, and only because her weight bothered you? So yes, you're the a-hole. More, I'd like to tell her to drop the real dead weight. You. Am I the a-hole for interrupting dinner and telling everyone what my ex-husband's wife did? My ex-husband and I divorced 6 years ago, and we share custody of our 9-year-old daughter. Since then, he's been nasty and mean to me. I kept contact with my former in-laws as they care about the relationship with me. My former mother-in-law has done a lot for me. She's the best grandma my daughter has, and she visits and is always there for me, despite my ex's opinions. I got married to my now husband, and we had a boy together. He was born with a chronic medical condition. It was so hard seeing him like that. His health was getting better, until I woke up in the morning finding him not breathing. My husband and I were devastated. I was allowed to see him later, and when I held him for the last time, he was so cold. I just wanted to keep him warm like I did before. He died a month before his first birthday. The grief is very raw, and we're hurting, but we were overwhelmed by the support everyone showed us. I was told my ex-husband's wife had a baby boy a few days before my son's first birthday. She called to extend her condolences when my son passed away, but I ignored her because of her comments on my son. So, I had a small gathering last week on my son's first birthday. After we took minutes of silence, then we received a package wrapped in paper. I opened the box and found an album full of my ex-husband and his wife's newborn photos. We were in disbelief. It was sent by his wife. I didn't understand why she sent them, so I called my ex and he hung up on me. I was livid. I went over to my former mother-in-law's house at night because she wanted me there. I saw my ex and his wife were also there. Former mother-in-law said they came unexpectedly, but insisted that I come in since the entire family was there. I took a few minutes while they were having dinner to ask my ex's wife why she sent me her son's photo album on my son's first birthday. Everyone was shocked. She looked nervous and kept looking around. Former mother-in-law asked for clarification, and I told her what happened and what her daughter-in-law sent. She was livid. Started yelling at her and pointing at her, calling her awful and disrespectful. My ex kept defending her, claiming I was lying. So I just pulled the album out of my bag and put it on the table and walked out. I left while everyone was yelling at her. My ex came over later and started berating me, arguing about me interrupting/ruining dinner. Worse, ruining his wife's relationship with his family, because now everyone's been turned against her and keep yelling at her when she's dealing with postpartum. He claimed I'm using my son's death for attention and to turn his family against his wife out of resentment. That's when I kicked him out. My husband said I should have done that, but I didn't intend to. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She got what she deserved. Sending you that album on your deceased son's birthday was horrible. And if she had no way to defend herself, her intentions were clearly cruel. I wish you the best. Thank you, and you're absolutely right. I wanted an explanation, but she didn't say anything. I don't know why. But after this move, I'm worried that my daughter will become affected or influenced by her behavior. Her relationship with my daughter is fine. I always make sure my daughter is protected from any conflicts between me and her stepmom. I'm just worried about my daughter after what that woman did. You might want to talk to a lawyer about this. You might want to change your custody arrangement. Not the a-hole. Well, if it isn't the consequences of her own actions. You didn't ruin her relationship with his family. She did by being a complete monster. I can't imagine what is wrong with that woman that she would do something so self-centered and hurtful. I'm so sorry about the loss of your precious son. May his memory be a blessing. Not the a-hole. You couldn't have done anything if she never sent the album. And who sensed that through husband's ex anyway? No one with good intentions. I'm so sorry for your loss. Interestingly, this isn't even a casually malicious move. It's not like she lost her cool for a couple minutes and talked crap about Opie. This takes some real planning and resources. Purchasing a photo album and getting photo prints can cost anywhere from $40 to $100. Then it will take a couple hours at least to pick everything out and assemble it. Then you need to go to USPS or somewhere else, package it and ship it. This is an endeavor that took several days, if not a couple weeks to pull off. All while this lady is 9 months pregnant or has a newborn. How did she possibly find the time and energy to pull off this pet project with the sole intent of antagonizing her husband's ex? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for faking sleeping all night to see if my wife is lying? The past couple of months, my wife has been complaining about our cats. She's been claiming that the cats wake her up constantly, and that she's frustrated every night that she has to get up and open the door for the cats, or the cats keep making noises, or the cats keep jumping on her. It got to the point where she started saying she wants me to get rid of them. I told her I've never seen or heard any of this, but she claims I sleep through it all. She kept telling me she was getting less and less sleep and kept acting aggressive, blaming lack of sleep from the cats, and that if I didn't get rid of them, she'd leave me. I legitimately started considering giving the cats to my sister until I noticed something. One morning, she claimed she had gotten up multiple times throughout the night to help the cats. She listed a bunch of times. I thought it was weird because I had been up until 4 a.m. And she claimed that she got up at 1 a.m. to open the door for them, and a few times around 3 a.m. because they were meowing and jumping on her. I was in the bedroom the entire time while she slept, and I know none of that happened. Things weren't adding up, so I decided to run a test. I waited until she said she was going to bed. Then I let the cats out of our bedroom, lowered my phone brightness, and faked going to sleep. I just laid there in bed for the entire night, bored, but I definitely did not fall asleep. I made sure to make timestamps every 30 minutes on my phone through Discord just to be sure. I marked down every noise my cats made. One cat had jumped down from something and made a little sound at 3:18 a.m. And one ate food relatively quietly by the bedroom door at 4:57 a.m. Other than that, nothing happened. Sure enough, my wife slept from 11 p.m. until 9 a.m. And that morning, she claimed she had woken up at least 7 times to open the doors and from cat noises and cats jumping on her. At this point, I was pissed because she was clearly lying to me. I was exhausted and fed up with the lies, so I just bluntly called her out on it. I told her, "That's funny. I stayed up all night to monitor the cats. They weren't even in the room at all last night. I have timestamps and everything. So, you've been lying to me and trying to convince me to get rid of my cats. Why?" She just sat there quietly shaking and looking pissed, then got up and left without answering. She came back hours later and ignored me whenever I talked. And when I asked her how I'm the bad guy in this situation, she finally said that I was treating her like a child by lying about sleeping and staying up all night just to see if she was lying or not. And that making timestamps and everything, as if I was an investigator, was going too far and makes me an obsessive a-hole. I did it because she was threatening to make me get rid of my cats or she'd leave me, and her claims didn't add up. So, am I an obsessive a-hole? Not an a-hole. That was gaslighting and manipulative. And if she had issues with your cats, she should have said so directly. Don't let her flip this around on you either by making you out to be the bad guy for catching her in a lie. It's a classic move to shift blame. Don't fall for it. Not an a-hole, but you've kind of called her bluff about her leaving you now that you've removed cat's excuse from the equation. Wishing you all the best. If it's her or the cats, and you're on the fence, why the hell are you still together? She's told you she wants the cats gone. She's told you she will leave you if the cats aren't gone. Your choice was a power move, sure. But at what cost? She still wants the cats out. Not an a-hole in my opinion. You had to test her. She's trying to get you to get rid of your pets, and essentially blackmailing your relationship over it. What's your next move? I honestly don't know my next move. We've been essentially perfect together for years, and she's never done anything like this before. I didn't even realize she was capable of such immature actions. I'd hate to have to go through a messy divorce and potentially lose a bunch of my own money/items over one lie I've ever caught her in. It might be easier/cheaper to just deal with the situation through couples therapy and give it one more chance, honestly. Though the prenup we signed would make a potential divorce a lot cleaner. The next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for not letting my boyfriend ask my retired parents for money to send his mom to Hawaii and take care of her expenses?" So background. I am from a large family and my parents are middle-class retired. My boyfriend of 10 years got drunk last night and promised his 90-year-old mom that he would get her to Hawaii because she's always wanted to go. I'm cool with this. I agree to try to help figure it out with him and save so we can send her. Important note, I'm currently the only one with any income. He makes no money but is opening a business. Upon hanging up with his own mom, he immediately calls my mom, non-stop, until she answers. Then says, "Mom, I need to send my mom to Hawaii because it's her dream and we can't afford it. How can we make this happen?" I shut it down right there. I cannot believe he called my mom to ask for that kind of money without even discussing it with me first to see how I felt about the plan. I would not have agreed to this. He became belligerent, called me every disgusting name under the sun, told me that I've disrespected his mom and I don't care about her, and eventually told me we are breaking up. He continued screaming at me for the hour ride home, and we slept separately last night. Usually he comes in the morning with an apology, but today I woke up to him cussing and throwing things around the kitchen. When I asked if I could help him, he responded no. I asked if he's still angry about last night, but he said he's livid and doesn't want to talk. Am I the a-hole? Am I missing something that I should be seeing? We called his mom at his insistence, and I told her I wouldn't let him ask my mom for the money, and she was fine with it, which pissed him off even more. Open to hearing the truth. Edit. A lot of people are speculating, so I'm female 35, he's male 36. He grew up in a foster system. Now for the top comments. Whoa. Hold up. Usually he comes in the morning with an apology, but today I woke up to him cussing and throwing things around the kitchen. Usually? Is this a pattern? Oh, hell no. He said you two were breaking up? Take him up on this. He's got a lot of nerve to ask your parents for money like this, and then being mad when you didn't appreciate him overstepping you to ask your parents. Talk about entitlement. Absolutely not an a-hole. Thank you for catching this. I know this sub is all for dumping people at the slightest thing, but this is concerning. His entitlement to your money, your family's money, not to mention his temper tantrum the next morning, is all behavior I'm familiar with. It doesn't usually end well. Just because you spent 10 years in something or someone doesn't make it worth it. Don't hang on to your mistakes just because you spent a lot of time making them. Not a-hole. When I ask if I could help him. Why? Why would you ask him that? This guy's a manipulative abuser and you're too close to see it. That he would do this and then have the gall to get mad at you is next level. My eyebrows just about to shut off my head when I read this post. You need to get rid of this guy. He is toxic. Now, I've been in therapy for the last few months and had come to the conclusion that either I was a complete narcissist in pushing him, or that he's completely toxic for me and I need to figure out how to end things. Given all of these responses, I think I have my answer. Now I have to entangle finances and figure out the lease situation. Thank you for your honesty. And you are with this verbally mistreating, entitled, manipulative freeloader because... not a-hole. I know this sounds like excuses, but it's not always been like this. He worked and made lots of money for the first few years while I was making next to nothing. He wanted to quit for a variety of reasons, but mostly it's been his dream to open a business. I agreed to take on the finances for him to try to follow his dream. He's just not been able to make it work yet. And while having the other people see it as making it clear, he is usually very sweet and validating. 10 years is a long time, and little changes over the years seems to have mounted into something I could no longer see. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for having saved up a lot of money and not telling my wife? My parents got into a car crash and passed away when I was like 18. Mostly everything was left to me except for a few things given to different family members. I decided to open up a bank account and save up the money for when I might need it. I also added more money from each of my paychecks. When I meet my now wife, I didn't tell her about the money. I instead told her not to worry about having to pay for an emergency, so I would have it covered. Now we're married and we're doing well. We just had a kid some months ago and something came up unexpectedly, so we were running short on money. I told her I would figure it out and to not stress about it. She became suspicious about how I was able to pull it off. I repeatedly told her not to worry and that at the end of the day, it didn't matter. She wasn't satisfied with that answer. She went asking around, and one of my cousins told her about me saving money after my parents' accident. Nobody knows how much I saved, so my cousin probably thought it was a small amount. My wife is now upset about it. I honestly don't know what the issue is. I could have used the money for anything I wanted, but instead I'm using it for my family. So am I the a-hole for saving money without my wife knowing? Saving money? Good. Keeping sole access to it? Fine. Hiding financial information from a spouse? Really bad move. So, a softie or the a-hole? This is spot on, OP. I'm really sorry, but when other people on this sub talk about having personal/secret funds in case of emergencies or needing to get out of certain situations, we are cool with it. Why not with this guy? You're the a-hole. It's never good to have secrets in marriage. If she was just your girlfriend, it would be a totally different issue. But she's your wife, your other half, your equal. What if something would have happened to you, and she didn't know about the funds, and she needed them? Keeping a secret like that can really break trust. It makes you look like you don't trust her and you're hiding things. How would you feel if she did that to you? It doesn't matter how he would feel. He doesn't get to determine whether or not it is okay or reasonable for her to get upset. I hate when people ask this. It just makes it easier for a-holes to claim they don't care, so no one else should care either. I get not telling random people, dude, but this is your freaking wife. Your life partner. You say you would be thrilled if the situation was reversed, but I doubt many spouses would take this news well. It's not that you started saving, it's that you had assets that you kept completely hidden from your wife, who had just been under an enormous amount of stress because she thought you were equal partners in your marriage. Because she trusted you to be as transparent about your finances as she is with hers. If the person I married all of a sudden had money they'd never once mentioned to me, I would assume there was something seriously shady going on. And your refusal to accept her point of view doesn't bode well. You're the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for ruining my brother's date night and having him come pick his 3-year-old son up after I dropped him off at my house right before my shift? I, male 32, have a brother, male 30, Kevin, who is a single dad to a 3-year-old. Kevin lives in the same city as me. We don't have any family or relatives here, just a few friends. Kevin has a habit of dumping his kid on me at random times to watch while he goes out on dates with women. So far, he's gone out for 4 dates while expecting me to watch my nephew. It bothered me because I have work commitments. I'm a nurse, and my schedule can be unpredictable. And so it caused me issues at work for dropping his kid off at my house without telling me first. Last week he did it again. He came over at 6 p.m. and entered my house with my nephew. He had a spare key while I was showering and left the house immediately. I got out of the shower and was shocked to see my nephew standing there alone. He asked where his dad was, and he said he just left. I knew he wanted me to watch my nephew, but I called him several times on the phone and he did not pick up. I was so mad and almost freaking out because I was getting late for my shift. I sent him a text telling him to come pick his son up right now, or I'd call cops on him for child abandonment. He texted back begging that I suck it up just this time because he had an important date, and he couldn't live in the middle of it. I told him that I was serious, and I'd do it, and gave him 10 minutes to get home. He got home looking pissed, and started yelling at me for ruining his dates and making him leave in the middle of it, just because I couldn't bother skip one damn shift to watch my nephew. I told him I never agreed to watch his son. It made me do it. He said that it was an emergency, which made me laugh because calling a date night emergency is just absurd. Long story short, he left with my nephew but hasn't stopped blaming me for spoiling his date and probably causing damage to the relationship between him and his potential girlfriend. It's been a week, and he's still salty about it, demanding I make it up to him and call his date and lie to her and tell her some sob story about why he had to leave like that. But I said I won't do that. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He had an important date. He said that it was an emergency. Were they defusing a bomb together or something? I'm sorry. I just laughed so hard at this. Like, yeah, calling it an emergency is just not it, I guess. Change your locks, man. This. Brother should not have access to your home because he will keep doing this. Not stay home. Change your locks and put your brother's number on Do Not Disturb. He can hire a sitter if he wants to go out so badly. This. Change your locks. This is absolutely dangerous, and I would call CPS. How does he even have sole custody? The only reason I can think of is that the mother is completely absent. Death, abandoned the awful brother, etc. Not stay home, and you probably saved some poor young woman from having your nephew dumped on her. Your brother isn't dating. He's looking for a mommy mukbang maid. This is exactly what I was thinking. I hate when people aren't upfront about having kids and try to ambush people from dates to parenthood. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking a colleague to mind her own business after my dad groomed my mom and reporting her to my manager for this? A bit of background. It was my mom's 53 female birthday a few weeks ago. My dad's 64 male decided to treat her to a dinner in her favorite restaurant. It's worth mentioning that my dad does not speak English, and my mom is not a native speaker either, but she's pretty fluent in it. My mom also looks significantly younger than she is due to working out, diets, and different beauty therapies, while my dad looks his age. So one of the waitresses pulled my mom aside and asked if she had been groomed by my dad. My mother thought that being groomed means being taken care of and treated, so she replied positively. After that, she couldn't understand why the waitress urged her to leave and hide and thought it's a surprise. Long story short, police got called and nearly arrested my dad until mom cleared the air, showed her passport and said they were married for over 25 years. No hard feelings. They left a decent tip for the restaurant for doing something and laughed at the situation. More like miscommunication. Now, on Friday, I was telling this story to my work friend, and we both agreed that it was funny. One of our work colleagues, Nancy, intervened and said if she was the police officer, she would still take my dad into custody, as due to their age difference, it's clear to her that my mother was groomed by him. Just hearing that wanted me to vomit, since my parents met each other when both of them had successful careers, and my dad was working as a member of the police force himself for years and adopted me and raised me as his own daughter. I snapped and asked Nancy to mind her own business and stop making assumptions, but she carried on. I had no choice but to get the manager involved, and both of us got dismissed until Monday to wait for HR to look into the issue. Since then, Nancy posted a rant on social media and called me an a-hole for supporting grooming of women by older rich men, and some other people agreed with her. This entire situation makes me angry, but am I the a-hole for reporting her to the management? Not the a-hole. Nancy is way out of line. Take a screenshot of her rants for HR. Yes, HR needs to know how Nancy's being an awful bully on social media. Her behavior is unacceptable. I feel like this post is a great example of the term grooming being overused/misused. Even though there's an 11-year age difference between OP's parents, when they met, they were both at a place where they were stable and successful with their individual lives. There's not a gap in life experience, which is where it matters. Grooming isn't about the numerical age gap. A couple might have a 4-year age gap, that is 15 and 19, and still qualify as grooming if one partner is taking advantage of the life experience difference between them. Obviously, it's more likely if there is a big numerical gap, but it isn't everything. Not stay home. You ask her to stop. She did not. Make sure you document everything she does. Screenshot Facebook rant and anything else. IRT this issue, especially if it continues after HR talks to her. Not stay home. Shalma certainly looks like a grown woman capable of making her own choices, rather than having randos concerned trolling her. Not stay home. The age difference is 11 years. I have a lot of family that have that age difference. Your coworker is sticking her nose in where it doesn't belong, and she has blown it out of context. I would also tell HR that she has put this in social media. Take a screenshot if you can for proof, as this is totally wrong. 11 years is no big deal since they were married when she was 28. Obviously, there are situations where 11 years would be grooming, but this is so not that. Thank God Nancy's not a police officer. Exactly. A 15-year-old with a 25-year-old? Definitely grooming and highly inappropriate. A 25-year-old with a 35-year-old? No big deal. Edit. It seems a lot of people think that somehow my mom looks like a young teen. She isn't. I'd say she looks about middle 30s. Judging by my colleagues guessing her age. She uses Botox and other therapies to keep young as her job involves meeting a lot of people. Be seen by a lot of people, so she has to look presentable. Before someone else jumps on it, no, it's not prostitution or anything like that. Think more like in filming/acting. Possibly she stole her secret of being forever young from Paul Rudd or Jared Leto, I don't know. Where we live, grooming in adults is recognized, but mostly in a way to push someone towards prostitution or trafficking. And to the person who said my dad was sleeping with my mom since she was 18, please seek help. They didn't even know each other until my mom was 25 and already pregnant with me. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to take pictures with my stepsister on her birthday? My mom was an alcoholic and cheater, and my dad divorced her when I was 8. I was not his child biologically, but he still got custody. He hired a nanny, and I didn't really see him a lot as he was always working. He remarried when I was 10, and I have a stepsister who is a year younger than me. My dad is a really engaged parent with my stepsister. My dad pretty much told me when I was 13 that the only reason he had fought for custody was because he knew mom used to drive drunk. I feel like a guest at his house, and he doesn't talk to me a lot. I have never been excluded from anything, but it always is a pity invite out of obligation. I do look a lot like mom, and I think that is why he doesn't like me. I know that I am an obligation and I should be grateful that I am not in a foster home right now. I go to a good school. I will never have to worry about college debt. But I don't belong here, and I know that he will probably not want anything to do with me once I'm done with college. It was my stepsister's 16th birthday and they made a huge deal out of it. My dad took time off from work. My stepmom baked a cake and they got her things based on her favorite movies and books. It was a small party with just her uncle and aunt invited. I don't know why, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. For my birthday, I got cheap store-bought cake that I cut alone with stepmom late at night because dad was busy, and my sister couldn't be bothered to stop gaming to come down. I was really close to crying. I was so freaking jealous and hurt. I know that I am an awful baggage that really shouldn't be here, and I just didn't want to pretend anymore. They wanted to take a family photo and my stepmom asked me to join them, but I told her that I didn't want to. They were okay with it, but my stepsister asked again, but I was really not in a mental space to take a photo with them. They took the photo without me and my sister is very mad at me because I didn't want to take pictures with her. My stepmom is also slightly annoyed and is frosty with me. I feel guilty. I should have sucked it up and just took the photo. I was just drawing attention to myself and I shouldn't have done that. I feel like a petulant child. Now for the comments. I want to address this first. You absolutely do not have to be blindly grateful for the situation. Well, I'm glad that he took you in to prevent you being in danger with your mother. He ultimately chose to be your parent and is failing at that. He was failing at that when he didn't engage with you. He failed at that when he did then engage with your stepsister, showing that this isn't a biology thing. And he royally failed by telling you a supposed reason for getting custody of you. Just because things could be worse doesn't mean that you don't deserve better. Now to your question. No, you're not the a-hole. You live in a family that has made you feel like this. I know that I'm an awful baggage that really shouldn't be here, and I just didn't want to pretend anymore. You shouldn't have sucked it up. You shouldn't have to ignore the way that they treat you. I'm so sorry that you were treated this way. I only hope that when you go to college in a year, you can start making your life the one that you want and deserve. I feel guilty as hell. I am well provided for, and every time I think about the money he's spending on me, I feel a bit sick. He doesn't really want to do it, but he has to because he was sure that mom would have endangered me. I feel guilty that I'm willing to accept so much from someone who doesn't want me around. Taking things from people who don't want to give is so selfish, and I feel like I'm being selfish by accepting everything. You shouldn't feel guilty about your father doing his own job. It's his job as a father to provide for you, whether he wants to or not, and it's not your fault that you were born or that he was forced to take care of you. Not stay home. Oh honey, I am so sorry. I truly understand how hurtful this is. I was the black sheep of an extremely dysfunctional family. Alcoholism, abuse. I want you to hear this, okay? Because these things get in deep and leave bad scars, and you need to know that none of any of this is your fault. There's nothing inherently wrong with you, and you deserve better. You deserve better. You are worthy. Your parents being unable to fulfill the role of loving and nurturing you is indicative of their deficiency, not yours. There's nothing petty about being hurt by this. It's hurtful. The adults responsible for helping you develop your map of the world are inadvertently teaching you that you matter less than others. Do not accept this as a reality. Without knowing them, I have a tendency to suspect that they lack the emotional intelligence to realize this themselves. It doesn't excuse it, but may be helpful to you to realize there isn't malice towards you motivating this behavior, just ignorance. You are not a home. You can get through this, and I can tell you there is a world of people out there who are going to love you so much you won't know how to handle it. You're just gonna hang on until you can strike out on your own. Thank you. I have been struggling a lot lately. I know that I am going to leave home this year, and I really had hoped that they would have warmed up to me by now, but they haven't. I know that once they sent me off to college, I will be a stranger, and it is so scary. I do have memories of good times with my dad and mom, and I know that he used to love me. I just need to go through this. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for taking my sister's money after finding out she's been using my card? For context, I, 17 male, have been on and off with working since I would mainly focus on school, but do some side gigs or do seasonal work so I can save some money to help me get my first car. My little sister is 13 female, has had a money issue in the past. For a few days now, I noticed on my bank app that random transactions were on my card. Example, Apple Bill, AliExpress, and Depop. I originally thought these were late charges as I had ordered stuff from those places. But when I called my bank, they informed me these looked like recent transactions. And I had to lock my card due to fraud. The total of the amount of money that was taken out of my account was $67.39. I informed my mother about the situation, and she said she would keep an eye on everyone in the family to see who was using it. Today I had to go to in-person school and I left my wallet at home. Once again, I see another transaction of $1.05 was placed on my credit card, and I received a message from a Depop account asking for confirmation of a Squishmallow. Immediately I got upset, called my mom and demanded that she gets my sister and tell her that I know that she's been using my card, and that when I get home she will have to pay me back. I got home and my sister refused to give up any money, insisting that I can't take her money, and that she would do all my chores and that I can cancel the items she ordered, but still refusing to give up any money. I got angry and went through my sister's wallet and took out the whole amount that was taken out of my card. My mom thinks that I went too far, and that I was in the wrong, and that my sister is going to have major trust issues with me, but I don't think I did anything wrong. Not stay home. Your mom is enabling your sister's bad behavior. I think it's funny that your mom is concerned about your sister having trust issues because you took the money that was owed to you, when really your sister is the one who broke your trust by using your card behind your back. OP's sister issue has nothing to do with trust. It's called theft. Mom is enabling her in a very dangerous way. I'll stay home. Your mother is not doing her job as a parent. She's the one who should be making your sister pay you back and making her apologize for stealing from you. Not stay home. You're totally right. Like, how does a 13-year-old have past money issues? Seems like mom has been ignoring this behavior from the sister for a while. Not stay home. Your sister stole from you. There should be no question that she should pay everything back, and there should be other consequences as well. Literally this. I'm baffled by the mom's reaction. Edit. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone replying in this post, regardless of whether you put NTA, YTA, or ESH. Your opinions are helping me with the situation. There was something I would like to clarify now that I have the time to put it all out, as when I first made this post, it was in a fit of rage. My sister had always had a money issue growing up. During the time when my mother and father were still together, my father was the type to spoil her, giving her money and just letting her spend whatever and however she wanted. When my father left, she only started to receive any type of allowance through our mother by chores. Regarding the card I have is under a student/teen/kid plan with my mom's bank. I have a habit of where I tend to forget my keys and wallet at home, so I do believe that's how my sister was able to grab my card information. Either way, today I locked both my debit and credit and requested to receive a new one.